Beautiful people, what is going on? Welcome to Mo's Knows. I'm your host, Mose. You already know what's up. No introductions needed because he was already here. He's back again for round two. We're two-thirds of the way in the season, people. We had him on after the first 6 weeks. He said he was going to come back after the second round of six. We're going to have him again for the third round of six, but he's here today. Jesse, what's going on with you, bro? How you been, man?
Hey, I've been really good, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. A lot going on, a lot of craziness around my life, with the baby in the mix, the kids in school, the missus working from home, stuff going on at work, man. But I'm holding on, I'm surviving. I can't complain, man. Before we jump right in, just give me your thoughts on this second portion of six games. We're 12 weeks in to the NFL season. Everybody's been talking about it. It's been a hot topic. This is truly a year of any given Sunday. Teams winning that we think should lose, teams losing that we think should win. It's really hard to predict games this year. I've been going through making my game picks every week, and I feel like I'm making good picks, but the team's just not following through for me. What have you seen so far? What's got your mind, boggling, going crazy so far this season?
That's exactly it, Mo. I mean, this out of all the seasons that I've been watching football, I mean, I'm 38 years old. I've been watching football for 32 years, as far back as I can remember. I don't remember a season ever like this, to where you're this far into a season and you have no idea who the real contenders are. That by this time, there's always the one team or two teams, maybe even three that have separated themselves. Doesn't mean they always won the Super Bowl, but they're like that team that you're looking at going, okay, that's the team to beat this year. I don't know who that is this year. The only team that I kind of look at that way is possibly Arizona, just because they've been able to keep wins together. They're staying atop the NFC West, and that's with Colt McCoy and no D Hop. But that being said, even they can be had. So I just feel like, man, this is the most wide open season I've ever seen. And I'm really excited about it. And there's just ebbs and flows to the season. We're going to go back and I'm sure we're going to recap what happened and what we said after six games. It's probably going to be very different at this point during the season. And that's a cool thing to think about.
Yeah, man, let's jump right into it. I don't want to hold you up and keep you long. We already got some things popping off in the chat. Shout out to Amin the Dream. He's already first one in the stream, first one commenting. One of the best young minds in this thing we call football commentary. Love Amin. He says, I hate to say it, but Jesse was right all along about the Rams being pretenders. He told Rad, Trey, and Jeff, and they didn't agree. Well, we'll talk about that. We will bring that up in a second. Shout out to Melissa. She says Mose and Jesse, LFG. And then we still got Melissa. We got Amin in the chat. Other people should be popping in soon. So let's jump right into it, Jesse. We don't want to waste too much time. So we did contender and pretender after the first 6 weeks. We took the top 10 or 12 teams. We had you break down who you believe is a contender, who you believe are pretenders. We'll go with the contender list first. We have Arizona, Baltimore, Dallas, Tampa, and Buffalo. Are you still sold on these five being contenders? Has there been any change or shift in the contender status for these five teams, in your opinion?
Yeah, so let's just lay out the ground rules again. If I remember correctly, we said these are teams that we believed could win the Super Bowl, right? Like that was like
Correct.
top notch. It's not, hey, they're going to get to the playoffs, maybe that. No, it's these are the teams we think can win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
The AFC is wide open, so I'm not sure about them. We'll talk about them in just a second. I'm definitely still in on Arizona. I'm definitely still in on Tampa. Dallas is very beatable
Yeah.
right now. I gotta remove them from that list. If
Okay.
I'm gonna remove them and I'm gonna pull up Green Bay because Green Bay right now is playing nasty football. So that would probably be my change in the NFC. The AFC, I feel like this team is a lot like the 49ers, the way they started out really slow. They've been a good team for a few years, and now they're coming on hot at the right time. They definitely have a lot of weaknesses, but the Kansas City Chiefs look really, really scary to me. So for me, I'm probably moving them to the top of that AFC list. I'm going to keep Baltimore and Buffalo slightly behind them, But I think there's really only one team in the AFC right now. And for me, at this moment, it would be the Kansas City Chiefs. What about you?
Yeah, I was actually taking a look at that. I was taking a look at the records from week 6, and looking at the records now. And I'm pull it back up real quick. At the time, we were talking about the Chiefs and how much of a disappointment they were. I believe their record at that time was 2-3, and we were like, "What's going on with the Chiefs? Where are they? What's going on with Patrick Mahomes? This is a problem. This is scary." And then all of a sudden, they were finding ways to win. They made some adjustments on the defensive end. Like you said, they still have weaknesses, but they got Chris Jones off of playing defensive end. I don't know why in the world you would have him playing defensive end, even with the injury to Frank Clark. They got him back in the middle, and that started to change things around a bit. And then the offense, although it didn't look as polished as it used to in the past, they have found a way to move the ball and score points. Now this team, after starting 2-3, is sitting at 7-4, coming off of a bye week, and they're going to be refreshed, recharged. Absolutely, this team has been in the past 2 Super Bowls, so they already have that winning pedigree. Yes, they are a scary team. Dallas, uh, it pains me to say this. I would still keep them there just because when they have everything going for them, like when everything is clicking at the right time, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, but when everything is clicking, this team is a dangerous team. Now, I understand we have to watch out for them defensively. They do give up a lot of points. When they play a team like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that team, they're going to put up 30. So it's going to be a 35-33 type game. It's going to be some type of a shootout. But when things are clicking for Dallas, and we know when you get into the playoffs, all you have to do is have 3 or 4 really good games in a row. So if things can start clicking that way with the offensive firepower that they have, I still want to keep them there. Shout out to my father-in-law. Shout out to my cousins, all the Cowboys, whatever. I said something nice about your team. Get off my back. All right, let's move over to the pretenders list. Some teams here. Green Bay, you said you wanted to move up.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Rams. Amin already said you called that one. The Bengals, again, shout out to the Bengals. I
For
called
sure.
this in the beginning of the season. Over under, I gave them the over of winning 6 games. They already got 7. So I shout out to Cincinnati and Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, and all those boys. We got the Raiders here. We got the Chargers. We got the Titans. Are there any other teams that you might want to move up, or you think that this list is solid as it is without minus Green Bay, who you already moved up?
Yeah. So for me, Tennessee's the one team I'm still looking at, and it's all contingent on Henry. Obviously, Henry changes the face of that whole team. So if they can sneak into the playoffs and Henry can come back, I'm interested. Right, I'm in on this team again. I just don't know what the status of Henry is. I've heard multiple different things that he'll be back in 5-6 weeks to he's done for the season. I don't know. So with that being said, as they sit now, I'm going to leave all these teams right here except for Green Bay. And, um, I just, again, the AFC is so wide open that really technically maybe you could move some of these teams up and say, hey, they can compete. But I look at it as Kansas City and everybody else. And right below them, I would keep Baltimore and Buffalo. I think the Bengals have made a nice little run. Obviously, the Raiders just beat Dallas. And Tennessee's had some games, right? Some really good games. But I think this list is good where it's at.
So the Rams fans might be upset with you, okay? But they've lost 3 in a row.
What was their
They look
record
like
when we at 6 weeks, Mose, when I had them at Pretenders still? Were they
five
like
and one.
okay. Yeah.
They were 5-1 at that time. So now they've gone on a 3-game losing skid. They've added Odell Beckham Jr. They've added Von Miller. That hasn't seemed to propel them and make them this quote unquote dream team that they thought they would be. Are you are you buying the Matt Stafford injury news that's out there that he might be
I
having
am.
some back issues?
Yeah, I definitely am. But again, you don't hear about these things when teams are winning, right? Like it's still an excuse. To me, I've always said if you're playing, that's it. Like you chose to play, you chose to cleat up, you chose to buckle that chin strap. The excuses leave the moment you step on that field. Now, if you get hurt and you leave the game, that's different. But if you stay in that game and that's what you chose to do, there are no excuses. I do not care. Like none of that stuff matters. So for me, I still think it's an excuse. I do buy that the injuries are real. I mean, he's always had these injuries. This has always been a lingering thing, right? But for me, Stafford's good. Stafford, just from a raw physical talent, is extremely good. But I've never bought into he was going to come in and be this savior because he has been bred to lose. It doesn't matter if it was his fault, the Lions, none of that matters. This guy is not a winner. So now all of a sudden you're supposed to come to an organization and be a winner. Winning is more than just putting up numbers. Winning, there's a swagger to it. There's a know-how. It's a skill set. And it's a skill set that he hasn't learned in his career. So yeah, I mean, do I buy the injury? Sure. Is that the only reason that they're losing? Absolutely not.
I mean, well, one, we can look at the fact that they don't have a running game. So this team is forced to pass 30 or 40 times a game.
Yep.
One, Darnell Henderson can't stay healthy, but even if he is on the field, he's not one of the top five, top 10 backs in the league that you can guarantee him getting 20 to 30 carries and being able to control the ball that way. Defensively, we know they have studs, but as we've seen in the past 3 games, you can eliminate those guys. And as long as you game plan around those guys to minimize their effectiveness, you can move the ball effectively. You can score points against this team, and you can win. So again, I'm not afraid of the Rams. I know my brother is going to talk a lot of crap, but uh, it was fun to give him that call after the 49ers ran through that team. And I called him and he picked up the phone. I was like, "What's good, bro?" And he was like, "Man, I already knew you was about to call me." And that's all he had to say. We just laughed for like 5 minutes. That's all he could say. So there's one team that we didn't talk about because if I look at this team 6 weeks ago, this team was 2-3. Jesse, this team was 2-3 after week 6. In the 6 weeks since, this team is now sitting at 8-4. They were either 2-3 or 3-3, but now they're 8-4 after the second half of 6 weeks. That's the New England Patriots
Mm-hmm.
with a rookie quarterback and good old Bill Belichick
Yep.
sitting at 8-4.
For sure.
Knowing everything that this team is constructed with, what list do you put them under? Do you put them under contender or pretender at this point in the season?
I mean, the AFC, like I said, the AFC is so weak. I mean, they would probably be that second team that I would for sure put up in the contender spot right now. I still think, overall, if Henry comes back, I like the Titans a little bit more. I really like the Chiefs still above even the Patriots. But if you've got to put two teams up there right now, it has to be the Patriots. They are playing really good defense. They have the number one scoring defense in the NFL. They, I think, are number 4 in forcing turnovers. Mac Jones is perfect for that team because he doesn't make mistakes. And that's all you need. Just don't turn the ball over. Your defense is probably going to score at least once this game or get you the ball multiple times. You protect the ball, we'll run it, you be efficient. That's all we need. And that's what he's doing. Yeah, right now it's a recipe to win football games for sure. It definitely is. I question it come playoff time, just because I feel like there's going to be times where you're going to have to take the top off. But for right now, yeah, this team's definitely a contender.
One of the things that I said about the Patriots, which they always seem to do, is they found their brand of football and their way to win as they're currently constructed. A lot of teams try to find ways to win that aren't them. The biggest key word that we hear in football is find your identity. What is your identity? I think it took them that first third of the season, that first 6 weeks, to figure out what that identity is.
Yeah.
Once they ironed that out and had a clear plan of this is our identity, this is how we win games, they followed that blueprint to a T. We've heard it from past players, former players who have played for the Patriots, that there's a Patriot way. And I think Bill is finding a modified version of that post Tom Brady. He found that with Mac Jones, as you said, a steady quarterback. He's not going to wow you with statistics, but he's going to play efficient football, not turn it over, and he's going to consistently get you in a position to score points. The defense has finally found their brand of football and how they are going to win playing together as a cohesive unit. I will put them as a contender simply for the fact that Bill Belichick knows how to scheme up defenses to stop pretty much anybody in this league. And with the way teams are looking now, maybe I'd say no if the Chiefs' offense was as high powered as we've seen them in the past 2 or 3 seasons. But because they aren't that and they do have weaknesses that can be exploited, I would have to put them in that conversation just for the simple fact that they've been there so consistently over the past 20 years that it just feels like it's ingrained in them to be in that spot every single year. I am excited to see, how they continue to move forward. I'm excited as 49er fans. I'm excited to see what KB's blossoming into
Yeah.
as a receiving target over there. He's earning the trust of Josh McDaniels and of Mac Jones, and to see him kind of in the same similar role that he was with the 49ers, but and take that to the next level. I'm excited for KB. I kind of wish he was still with us.
I'll tell you what, if we get a Brady Belichick Super Bowl, it's rigged, and I'm done watching the NFL.
Jesse, that honestly, that is one of the things that I almost want to investigate, because there's been certain players throughout, the past 5 or 10 years who come out and who've said things like, "Oh yeah, the NFL is rigged." I think the most recent article that I've seen was from former Bears running back Benny Cunningham, and he was like, "The NFL is 100% rigged." And I really do want to investigate that and find out what truth is there to that, because that would tank the game for me. If
It
if
would.
if
Hell
the
yeah.
game is really rigged, if certain teams or certain players are set up for success, um, honestly, as a 49er fan, I would have to look back to that 49ers Ravens Super Bowl. Like, was that so that, Ray Lewis could get his final ring on his way out and he can ride off into the sunset? Was the 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl, was that to finally get Andy Reid, the ring that he should have had maybe once or twice when he was in Philly?
And
Was that kind of like a
catapult Mahomes into superstardom.
into superstardom and to be the full face of the league? Because what happened on the next Madden cover, it's Brady and then it's Mahomes on the Madden
Yeah.
cover. When
Yeah.
it's normally just one athlete, now you have Brady and Mahomes, kind of like a passing of the torch moment. So if there was some truth to the NFL being rigged, I would be jaded. Seriously.
Oh, of course. Yeah, definitely. If I found out it's rigged, I'm out. Like that's it. It ruins it. I think it ruins it for everybody. I think the problem is that you'll never know. There's definitely some things that are a little sketch. Not gonna lie. There's definitely some good breakdowns on this that make it seem very sketch, but it's so hard to know. And I guess ignorance is bliss for me is kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have. But I wouldn't be shocked if there was a story that came out similar to the NBA referees, where referees were getting paid under the table to kind of rig certain games. I wouldn't be surprised if NFL refs got paid under the table to rig certain games. I think back to that Saints Rams playoff game where there was a blatant pass interference that was not called. Um, so I
Yeah.
think I wouldn't be
Or even what was it?
surprised.
Even a couple weeks ago, it was the I think it was the Bears game where
Oh,
Buddy was running
the
across the field and he stuck his butt out and was like flag. Like, dude, what is
yeah.
that?
The Bears Steelers game, that was absolutely terrible. Terrible referee in that entire game.
Unbelievable.
So I would not be shocked if that came out. All right, Jesse. Amin alluded to it. We're going to point to you as Nostradamus here. We said best of the worst. And of these six teams that I laid out, you said Miami right now, although you were skeptical, was the best of the worst. At that point in week 6, the Jets were 1-4, the Giants were 1-5, Dolphins 1-5, Jags and Texans also 1-5, and the Lions 0-6. And you said of this group, Miami Dolphins was the best team. Well, they proved you right. Right now, they have the best record of these six teams, sitting at 5-7. So they've won 4 of the last 6. So they started 1-5. Over the next 6 games, went 4-2. So that's good. The Jets are sitting at 3-8. Giants at 4-7. Jags and Texans at 2-9. And the Lions, sorry, Unc, 0-10-1. I almost feel like I would just want that one to be a loss. Like just no tie. Just let me just can I choose to lose the game and give the other team the win? Like I don't want a tie right here. Let's touch on that because I know you have a lot of insight to the Lions based off of your channel. What I see from the Lions, I see a team that fights every week. If there was any positive that I can take out of this Detroit Lions team, is that the head coach's philosophy of being raw, being rugged, scratching and clawing, even if you get knocked down, we're fighting on the way back up. That is seeping into the fabric of this team. They're fighting in every game that they're in. It's always a battle, whether it's a close battle and they tie with the Steelers or they lose on the last second field goal to Baltimore, or they give up a lot of points and they get blown out because they started slow and maybe Jared Goff comes on, in the second half, it's a little too late. What are you seeing from this Lions team? And do you think they will go winless this season? I don't think they will. I just don't know when the win is going to come.
Yeah, it's funny because you gave me credit there for the Dolphins, but I don't remember how the conversation went then, but I can imagine at that time I was really kind of thinking the Lions possibly, and that maybe that's why I was hemming and hawing on the Dolphins because of these teams. That's exactly it. The Lions have been fighting all year. They've been close with a lot of really, really good teams. I mean, they lost by a record setting field goal, for God's sake. I mean, how crazy can it get for this team? This team's definitely fighting. This team has a really good coaching staff. Say what you want about Campbell. Let's remove him from the equation. Even if you don't like him, I like this coaching staff a lot. So I also think that he's a good emotional leader. Sure, he may not be the smartest guy in the room or have the best X's and O's or whatever, but I feel like he's what the Lions need. And I think that they're a team that next year can be very, very competitive because they're going to have multiple draft picks and just another chance to rebuild. And usually teams that hang around a lot for a season and lose, they take kind of that next step the year after. So I really like what the Lions have. It's unfortunate that they are winless at this point, but that being said, no, they're gonna beat somebody. Maybe it's I don't know. Did they play the Bears again? Maybe it's the Bears. I don't know, but they are going to beat somebody eventually. Who that is, I'm not sure, but that fan base deserves so much more. It's a crappy situation over there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to remove, although they still are not at 500, we're going to remove the Dolphins because they went 4-2. If any stretch of the NFL season, if you go 4-2 in a
Right.
6-game stretch, that's good. We're going to remove them. We're going to add some new teams to the best of the worst.
Okay.
And we're going to have you pick again. And in 6 weeks, we're going to see if you were right. I'm happy about one of these teams.
Seattle. I knew
Woo-wee!
it.
The
Oh, I
Seattle
knew it.
Seahawks, after losing last night, fall to 3-8. And I just got word, and I'm excited for Robert Saleh because the Jets are also sitting at 3-8. It's possible because of the trade for Jamal Adams that the Jets not only have two first round picks, they may have two top five picks. Because right now the Jets and Seahawks are sitting at 4-5. So either way, if the season ended today, the Jets in the draft would have the fourth pick and the fifth pick in the 2022 NFL draft. I'm excited for Robert Saleh because you can do a lot with that. You don't need your quarterback. You already have him in the building. So you can keep one of those and trade back. You could take two studs in the top five and completely change the culture and the star power that you have on your team. But of this group, Jets, Giants, Bears, Jags, Texans, Lions, and Seahawks, of this group, who is your pick for best of the worst?
I got to go with the Bears right now. I
Okay.
think Seattle's a team that I would look at, but I've got to imagine they're going to play the 49ers. They've probably got the Rams and Cardinals left. Like, those are most likely losses. So it's hard to pick them. I just feel like Russell Wilson, he's got to figure it out at some point. So it's hard for me to not pick them. That being said, I just think the Bears, I like what the Bears have going. I know that there's the talk of Nagy getting fired or whatever, but Fields, who didn't play last week, I think is starting to blossom a little bit. They've got a very good run game. They do have some injuries, and Khalil Mack, who's done for the year, and some injuries at receiver. But I still think that they're good enough to reel off a couple wins. So right now, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears.
Okay. Yeah, looking at that Seahawks schedule, uh, they have us next, then the Texans, and then the Rams, Bears, Lions, and Cardinals. I wonder if the Lions beat them.
Ooh,
That would be
wouldn't that
funny.
be fantastic? That'd be
That
great.
would be
Well, there
fun.
we go. The Seahawks and Bears play each other. Maybe that's going to be the tiebreaker. We'll see by then.
Maybe that will be the tiebreaker. You mentioned something about Nagy and those trade rumors coming out. I mean, the firing rumor said that he got fired midweek, but the team but the team asked him to coach their Thanksgiving game. Do you do you know? I think any human being would be absolutely livid if their employer came to them and said, "Look, you're fired as of like right now, but I still need you to cover your shift on Thursday. Can you do that? And then after you cover your shift on Thursday, collect your stuff and go. We still need you to show up, but just know, like as of right now, you're done. You're
It's not
fired."
happening. I'm not going.
Um, in kind of a similar vein to that, as 49er fans, hour before kickoff, we get a report that the 49ers intend to trade Jimmy Garoppolo in the offseason. No matter what, he's going. Trey Lance is the future. Who knows if these stories are true, if these stories are false? Who knows why they come out? Give me your thoughts and your opinions on whether these stories are true or not, them coming out and the timing at which they come out. Me personally, I'm not a fan of it at all. Um, I think it's clickbait. I think it's used to cause dissension amongst an organization, amongst a player, amongst a coach, amongst a team. They're always ill-timed, awful for whoever is involved. Some people say that the way Jimmy Garoppolo played in the first half or the first quarter of that game against the Vikings may have been due to him hearing this report, and that messing with his mental psyche. Um, the Bears played really well on Thanksgiving, but some people thought that that may have affected Matt Nagy, hearing the rumors of him being fired, but still asked to coach the Thanksgiving game until it was official. What is your feeling about these ill-timed media stories that have little to no truth to them?
Yeah, well, listen, there's no way he was fired midweek and then hey, go ahead and coach Thursday. We'll give you one last. I cannot believe that for a second. Now, may there have been rumors that that was it if they had lost? That's possible. Like I could buy that one, but there's no way he was fired. That's absolutely false. Okay, the other rumor though, yeah, I do believe that that is true, and I believe that I believe that a call was made because the way that you look at how this broke down before the season started, this was what the thought was, the consensus. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be gone 2022. It's Trey Lance's team. For this season, Jimmy's going to be the starter. Okay. That being said, then it comes out last week where Shanahan says, well, you never know. Maybe he'll be, he's doing what coaches should do. He's giving you coach speak. Well, I think as any good insider, you're going to dive into that a little bit. And Rappaport's very, very plugged in with the 49ers organization. He drops a lot of news, has over the past few years. So I believe that that is absolutely true. The timing of it absolutely is clickbait. Like they're trying to get eyes on things. You want to be the go-to insider. You want people to watch your shows, your channels, all of that stuff. So yes, the timing sucks. But that being said, they're not a part of the organization. They don't care what these players go through. They don't care what the teams go through. As a fan, it definitely sucks. The timing is horrible. But on the business side of things, I understand why they do it. I respect it. I may not like it, but I do respect it, and I understand where what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's tough. Um, it's tough. I'm not a player, but I could just imagine being a player and an hour before a game, you get this article. Whether it came from a source that was close to you and that was trying to protect you, or whether it came from a source, that was trying to instigate a problem. Being able to go out on the field and turn that off. I'm sure some players it's easy to do, where for other players it may be difficult to do. So I couldn't imagine having to go out and play a game, especially as a quarterback, when this is already swirling in your head anyway. Any misstep that I make, they made a big deal about Jimmy throwing an interception and Kyle coming over and, for all intents and purposes, scolding him like, "What are you doing? Get your head in the game. Throw another pick and you're out of here." Like that was the consensus around what Kyle said to Jimmy in that moment, and you can kind of see Jimmy in his face. He's like, "Yeah," like it kind of almost seemed like he was over it to a point. So I think it's difficult for any player to go through. Um, I just know we need to get it figured out for our team, to just not have that be a constant concern every week. Um, it's tough for all parties involved.
Yeah, it
Um,
definitely is. But I mean, let's be real. Like these players know what it is, right? Like
yeah,
this isn't a surprise for anybody. The timing sucks. Maybe it affected Jimmy. Definitely didn't impact anybody else on that team. They know what it is. They know the writing's on the wall. Unless we make a Super Bowl run, like this is what is going to happen. We understand that. We know it. And, maybe some teams rally behind that. You look at the Nagy situation. That team definitely rallied behind that. Nagy certainly rallied behind it. And you look at Aaron Rodgers and all the blowback he got from the COVID thing and what came out blew up. Like certain players and like you said, certain guys can take it, they can run with it. Maybe that's not everybody, but I think this team knows what it is. They're not surprised by it. They're probably rolling their eyes at the whole situation, going, "Here we go again." Like we don't already know. Like really, yeah.
yeah. Let's take a look at current top 10 power rankings. We got some new teams in those power rankings.
Who's that? Who's
We
that over there? Is that the
you you you
49ers? I
you
can't.
see you see what I
Huh.
see.
Hmm.
You see what I see,
Interesting.
and I'm excited about that for all the hate that I've gotten with our slow start this season. But we have the Chiefs, who are number 4. Again, we saw their start through the first six games. Now they're sitting at 7-4, 7-4 in the power rankings. They moved all the way up to 4. Green Bay, Arizona, Tampa Bay, 1, 2, 3. You said that the NFC is the stronger conference. Patriots sitting at 8-4. They're up at 5. Buffalo was higher in this ranking, but then they slide down to 6. With Cincinnati's win, they moved to 7 from 15. So that's 8 spots. Dallas sits at 8, Baltimore at 9, and our San Francisco 49ers move up 6 spots from 16 to 10. Are you comfortable with the NFL power rankings as they sit right now? Would you adjust this and move a team up or down the board?
I kind of agree with it. I would probably. It's tough, right? Because Green Bay beat Arizona. That being said, I'm probably still putting Arizona at 1, Green Bay at 2. I mean, that's a little nitpicky, but you look at those top 5. I mean, that's basically what we just laid out. We just said, hey, these are our 5 contenders. So that makes me feel a little bit better. Like, somebody agrees with us on this one. But yeah, I think the back half, really what I see is right after 5, that back half is anybody's ball game. Like any of
Yeah.
these teams could either be anywhere 6 through 10 or off this list in a week. Like there's no guarantee for any of these teams over here. That top 5 is pretty solidified, but those other guys, anything can happen any given Sunday. And, we'll see how it plays out. For right now, I actually really don't have a big beef with this thing. What about you?
I think the only and I talked about my love for this team earlier. I think I would move Cincinnati down. I think I would swap Cincinnati with Baltimore. And come to
Didn't they
think of it,
smack Baltimore, though, really, really bad? Maybe I'm off on that one. I swear they smacked Baltimore.
I think they did.
They did smack. I mean, it was weeks ago, right? Like a lot changes, but they put it
I,
on Baltimore pretty good,
I
like 3
think they
scores
did.
type stuff.
Let me see. Da, 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 da. Yeah, 41-17. So that may be why that they're sitting higher than them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a division opponent. I
And it
still think
doesn't mean that they're
Baltimore at
better now, but it's just,
right, right,
something
right.
to consider.
Yeah, I just think Baltimore as constructed, I like them higher on this list. Especially when we talk about a contender, right? When we talk about somebody who is able to win the Super Bowl now, and I know this is power ranking, so this is different from contender pretender. But I think to me, at least in my mind, being a contender should matter. Like if we look at Green Bay, Arizona, Tampa, Kansas City, and New England, we think all 5 of these teams could win the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
I think Baltimore, given the opportunity, could win the Super Bowl. And I mean, it's funny, Cincinnati smacked Baltimore, but Baltimore put a hurting on Kansas City. So there's so much, like you mentioned earlier, the ebbs and flows of this season are unmatched. I don't remember a season like this. So yeah, that back half, you can move Baltimore up. You can move Buffalo down because they've had some really really solid wins, but then they've had some
Really
really really
ugly
bad
losses.
losses. I
Yeah.
mean, not putting up any touchdowns against Jacksonville, losing 9-6. I mean that could drop them out of the top 10 if you look at just that game. So yeah, this back half, I expect this back half 6 to 10 to change a lot over the next 6 weeks. This top half may stay solid. With the only, I wish I could say with confidence that Kansas City might not fluctuate because I think they're going on the right path. I think New England could fluctuate a little bit as teams start to figure out Mac Jones a little bit more. But I do think this top half is solidified. And it's good to see our Niners at 10, moving up 6 spots from 16 to 10. I think the league and the analysts are recognizing that this team is still a good team. We have pieces at every position of our offense and defense. You look at our running back situation, you look at Deebo Samuel, you look at George Kittle, you look at Trent Williams, who's having one of the best years that an offensive lineman has ever had on the defensive side of the ball. You look at a Nick Bosa, you look at a Fred Warner, you look at a Jimmy Ward in the secondary. So we have all the necessary pieces. I think we found our stride in these last 6 games. So I'm hoping we keep that up. Last topic before we get the final thoughts and get out of here, Jesse.
You mind if I say
Uh,
something about this just real quick?
sure, jump right
It's
on in.
interesting, right? Because when the season first started, there was that 17th game that was added, and every single opponent or every single division foe went up and they have to play an AFC North team. Well, when that schedule came out, we're like, yes, we got the Bengals. Like, we don't have to play the Browns. We don't have to play the Ravens or the Steelers. We got the Bengals. That's an easy win. Check that off the box. Goes to show you how much can change throughout a season. The Bengals are 7th in the power rankings, and I'm not even mad at it. They're the best team probably in that division. Argue between them and Baltimore, but as of right now, the best team in that division. That's incredible. So it just goes to show you how much can change. And then the other thing that I'll say is the 49ers, even at 5-5, before they played this last week, even at 5-5, I had more confidence that this 49ers team could make a Super Bowl run than I did when this team was 0-0. Like, that's how wide open this season has gotten. So it's a really, really fun season to watch.
Speaking of Cincinnati, I think their strength matches up really well against our weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Their quarterback and their wide receivers. This isn't a 49ers show, but let's talk about it since we're talking football.
Yeah, let's do it.
We see this team in 2 weeks. My son's birthday, December 12th. How do you feel this team and our secondary, as currently constructed, matches up against the likes of a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins? Do you think we employ a similar type of game plan that we just saw against Minnesota, who has Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, possibly. The problem is that if you watch that game film, Jefferson was running wild in that secondary, and Kirk Cousins just wasn't getting to him. So, does it change with Burrow? I'm not sure. I don't like when any team has two really good receivers, because no matter who your secondary is, you can be had. And then when you add in a pretty good running back as well and mix in, man, that's not going to be an easy game. And if we don't have Deebo or Fred Warner, I might have to chalk that one up to a loss, my man. Like, it's tough to say it, but that one right there is going to be a very, very tough game for this 49ers team. So hopefully Deebo's back. Hopefully Fred Warner's back. Then I would confidently pick the 49ers. But if one or both those guys are out, I'm probably leaning towards the Bengals.
Yeah, East Coast travel on the road. It's going to be
Yep.
cold in Cincinnati. It's going to be cold.
Although they did just get they got a flex in that week. So now instead of playing at that 1
the 1
p.m.
o'clock slot,
Eastern,
yeah.
10 a.m. Pacific, they got pushed back. So that's a little bit of grace, a little bit of something that went in the 49ers' favor.
Yeah, so that's a game, an exciting game that's going to be on the schedule. I can't wait to watch that one. Let's take a look at the playoff picture right now, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
Right now, current playoff picture as constructed. In the AFC, we have Baltimore as the 1 seed, the Patriots at 2, Titans at 3, Chiefs at 4, Bengals at 5, Bills at 6, Chargers at 7. Let's stick with this AFC side. If the season ended today and these were the matchups for the wild card round, what would you be looking for in each one of these matchups, and who would you take if you had to pick a team right now?
Man, these would be some fun matchups. Let me say that right off the bat. Okay, so the Kansas City Bengals one is my favorite matchup because you're talking about two offenses that can really put some points up. I think teams have to take steps to ultimately win. And for me, the Bengals, they got to take that step, right? So if they make the playoffs, that's a big step for this team. Next year, maybe they win a couple games in the playoffs. And then after that, who knows? Maybe we're talking Super Bowl contender. But for right now, I just think Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs, I would have to lean towards taking that game. Just because there's too much pedigree. There's too much winning pedigree on that team for them to lose in round one. So I would take the Chiefs there. The other one that really interests me is going to be the Patriots versus the Chargers. You've got two young quarterbacks. You've got Herbert going up against a Bill Belichick led defense. That's going to be interesting and fun. I think the Patriots win that one though. The defense is just too stout. And the Chargers, quite frankly, their defense is disappointing. For as many good players are on that defense, I cannot believe how Swiss cheese they have been for a majority of this year, really. They don't get after the quarterback with supreme consistency. There's tons of breakdowns in that secondary. It surprises me. There's just a lot of talent on that defense. There's some coaching missing there for sure. So for me, I would have to take the Patriots just on the shoulders of coaching. And then the Bills and Titans, I mean, that's a toss up. It really is. The Titans without Derrick Henry, I would have to lean towards the Bills, but neither of these teams are going to run the ball very well given their current circumstances. I don't know. Dayball to me has always been a little overrated because he doesn't consistently run the ball. You're seeing it again this year. They just can't figure out how to run the ball, and eventually that'll bite Buffalo in the butt. But for now, I think Josh Allen, who, maybe until a week ago was one of the front runners for MVP, he's just better than Tannehill, and that's why I would have to lean towards Buffalo. What about you?
So I think we're in lockstep with that. So we've got the 1 seed, the 4 seed, the 3 seed, and the 2 seed. No, six. 1, 4, 6, 2. So then that means Baltimore will play Buffalo. And then we have Kansas City versus New England. So Baltimore versus
That's a
Buffalo,
dream matchup.
Kansas City versus New England. Who do you have in those two matchups?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that Kansas City New England is a dream matchup right there. Okay,
Yes.
so I'm gonna go with Baltimore. I think Baltimore is so well coached. They can still run the ball. They're very dynamic still with Lamar Jackson. I would have to pick Baltimore at home. And again, Buffalo just leaves too much on the table to be desired when it comes to a run game. So I would go with Baltimore in that game. And I feel pretty confident about that. This next one, oh my gosh, I really don't know. Uh, I'm gonna lean the Chiefs. And the reason is because I feel like when the Chiefs are at their best, they're an opportunistic defense. And Mac Jones is still a rookie. I feel like he's going to lay a couple up that could be picked. It comes down to can it be taken advantage of? I also look at Jones and Clark and some of those other boys. I just feel like at some point they're going to make the difference. And having a quarterback that is not super mobile is a disadvantage. It is when you're going up against a guy like Patrick Mahomes that has all the physical traits that you could ever ask for in a quarterback. I just feel like eventually the better quarterback wins that game. You give the Chiefs one extra turnover, and that may be all that they need to go and pull this game out. I would go with the Chiefs to win that one.
So that means we got a Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs AFC Championship game. Who you taking right now? Early predictions if that happens that way.
Yeah, so Baltimore finally got over the hump against Kansas City,
Okay.
right? Kansas City was their bugaboo team. That being said, this is the playoffs. This is a different animal. I feel like the path there would be tougher. You're now talking about a team who's done it twice. They know how to win in this situation. And we talk about taking steps. I just talked about it with the Bengals. The Ravens are kind of that team right now, right? Where they lost in the playoffs. Last year, they were able to get a win. This year, they're able to make it to an AFC championship. And I think that they fall a little bit short, and ultimately the Chiefs find a way to win that game as well, and they go back to the Super Bowl.
So a team that started 2-4 and everybody was pulling their hair out finds a way to make it back to the Super Bowl for a third straight year in a row. Wow. We won't
Who are
hold
you
you
taking
to
to
it.
go to the Super Bowl? Who are you taking of the AFC?
I think, honestly, when you started off saying that they finally got over the hump, I think they really did. And if the road is going to go through Baltimore, that means Kansas City has to go on the road and come to Baltimore and try to beat this team again after getting embarrassed the first time they played them. I think, and even in that game, Lamar started off cold. Like the Chiefs were looking like they were going to win that game. Lamar played bad. Lamar had to will them to victory, and he had to play almost perfect football that second half. I think going into this game, that monkey off his back is already gone. So those first half jitters that he had in the first game of the season that they played in the regular season, I don't think he'll have those. I think he comes in more confident. I think after uh, being able to see this team and play a game before seeing them in the AFC Championship game, I think they'll be rested. Two, they'll be warmed up, ready to go for this game. I think they come out with a similar and more effective game plan. I think it'll be a good game. It'll be close, but I think just because they saw that they could get it done, that's all the belief that this Baltimore team needs to continue to win and make it to the Super Bowl. I got Baltimore. I got
Okay, I
Baltimore.
like it. All right, I like it. I like it. But we have the same AFC championship for now. So all right.
Yeah, with same AFC Championship. You got Kansas City. I got Baltimore. Moving
I
over
like
to
it.
the NFC side, we got the Cardinals at 1, Cowboys and Rams at 4 and 5, uh, Buccaneers at 3, 49ers at 6, Green Bay at 2, Washington football team at 7. So we'll start with Dallas Rams. Who you got in that matchup?
Man, that's a tough, tough game. I gotta lean Dallas because we just talked about it with the Chiefs. For me, when you have a high scoring offense, a team that can score at will, I don't necessarily need them to have a shutdown defense. It would be nice. Obviously, having a shutdown defense is always nice, but I think having an opportunistic defense is the best pairing with an explosive offense because a takeaway here or there, you figure out a way to get that one. You give your team that one extra possession, and I think that's enough to come out and win that game. I also look at them on offense. I think they're a more complete offensive team than the Rams are when they're fully healthy. And when I look at defense, sure, they may not have the names that, let's say, that the Rams have, but they're definitely more opportunistic. They're younger. They definitely are light-footed. I mean, Parsons, I don't know about you, but Parsons went from being the number one defensive prospect at arguably middle linebacker. They said either or, but inside linebacker, he might be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. So he's you can move him around wherever the hell you want, and he's going to impact the game. Imagine moving him to take on whoever the right guard is at that time for the Rams, or excuse me, the right tackle. Do you think he's going to win that matchup very often? Because I don't. I think Parsons could eat Stafford alive. So for me, I just think the Cowboys are a more complete team. I think both teams are a little bit fraudulent, but that being said, I'm leaning towards Dallas in that one.
Okay, I think we agree there. And you hit the nail on the head with the opportunistic defense. For somehow, some way, Dallas gets turnovers. I mean, Diggs has what, 7 picks? They
Yeah.
find a way to turn the ball over, and all this offense needs is one additional possession. I think quarterback, they're pretty even. Running back definitely goes to the Cowboys. I do like LA's receivers, but I'm going to have to give receivers to the Cowboys, especially if they're healthy. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and that's another thing. Who do you put Jalen on? Do you put Jalen on Amari Cooper? Do you put Jalen on CeeDee Lamb? Um, who does he guard that game? So that's going to be a chess match in itself. But I have to give receivers to the Cowboys. I already said running back. They have Zeke. They have Tony Pollard. I give tight end to them. I give offensive line to them. So yeah, just creating one extra possession for this Cowboys team at home at Jerry World. I'm taking the Cowboys as well. So now we got 1-4, 3 and
By the
6.
way, how
Go ahead.
amazing would that be that the Rams get bounced in round one after doing everything they could to get out from under Goff? You bring in Stafford and you still get bounced in round one. I would absolutely love it. I would love it. So
Oh,
yes,
we're
I'm
gonna
looking
we're gonna
forward to it.
enjoy that. We're gonna
Yeah.
enjoy that for a long time. All right. It's 3 versus 6. Tampa versus our 49ers. We got to go to Tampa Bay. What do you got?
Man. First of all, if it's in Tampa Bay, I'm fucking at that game. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss. I apologize. I
Yeah,
am
we're
at
at the
that
hour
game.
mark. We're good.
Okay, all right, cool. I just crossed it actually. Uh, I am going to that game. Period. I live right down the street from that stadium. I'm talking a 20-minute drive. I am there, so that would be incredible. That being said, I think I'm leaving the stadium disappointed because the 49ers' strength is also the strength of that defense, and I feel like that defense all year long has shut down every single running back that has come their way. And I don't think that the 49ers would be much different. Debo's a bit of an X factor, right? He may be enough to help them run. Kittle, obviously. And the 49ers are a little bit better at getting to the edge than maybe some of these other teams. That being said, I just feel like that doesn't bode well for the 49ers. You're going to have Richard Sherman, probably back at that time, not the best DB, but at the same time, he has a little intel on this 49er team. And I think that those things add up, especially when you're on the road. Tom Brady is just frankly a lot better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And I just think that they find a way to win. I mean, you talk about the Bengals scaring us. I don't know about you, but Godwin, Brown, Evans, Gronkowski, how do you even think about matching up with that? You don't.
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
yeah, Tampa Bay wins that game. That's the only matchup that worries me. If somehow Tampa Bay could lose to Green Bay or a Dallas or Arizona along the way, and we can avoid them, I think the 49ers have as good of a chance as anybody. But that Tampa Bay team is a disaster matchup for San Francisco.
For me, it's the Tom Brady factor.
Yeah.
And we can all speculate who he was talking about. But there was only one team that I heard that courted him that said, you know what? We'd love to have you, but we're going to stick with this guy. And Tom Brady himself said, you're going to pick that MFR over me? Now, we can all speculate, but I think he was talking about the 49ers. I think he was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, just because he has firsthand knowledge of who Jimmy is. Whether they're friends or not off the field, he's still a competitor. He's like, you're going to pick that guy over me. Okay. For that simple fact, when he's in a matchup against Jimmy Garoppolo, knowing how competitive he is, knowing he has that Michael Jordan, killer be killed, that Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality, he's going to look to destroy the 49ers and said, this could have been yours. You could have had me. I could have won 3 more chips and rolled off into the sunset. I'm a California boy. I grew up idolizing Joe Montana and loving the 49ers. This could have been us. But you chose not to go this way. For that simple fact, I think Tampa beats us in that game. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
Green Bay and the Washington football team. For me, this is easy. I think Green Bay wins this hands down. What do you think?
Yes, I don't think there's a lot to talk about. I think Green Bay, it's unfortunate for Washington if they do sneak into the playoffs that you had to play Tom Brady last year and you have to play Aaron Rodgers this year to open it up. Just kind of is what it is. The NFC is stacked with quarterbacks, and at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers is at Lambeau Field. They're not going home. They're winning that game.
So on this side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So Arizona plays Dallas. Dallas goes to Arizona, and then Tom travels up to Lambeau to face Aaron Rodgers. So we got Tampa at Green Bay, Arizona at Dallas. Who you got in those two matchups?
Yeah, Arizona, I think, throttles Dallas. I mean, they win by at least 14 points at home. I think they're just so much better than Dallas is. I think Murray is good enough to say that he's as good as Dak, or it's close at least, right? So let's say that's a wash. You've got Hopkins, who is going to eat no matter who he's against. I mean, it's freaking Hopkins. AJ Green's pretty good in his own right. I just I feel like Arizona's a really good team, and especially if you give them a home game, I think Arizona runs away with that game. By the third quarter, it's well within hand. So I'm going with Arizona to win that game.
And then Tampa Bay at Green Bay,
Oh my
which I think a
gosh.
lot of people would like that to be NFC title game. But
Yeah.
Tampa Bay at Green Bay, divisional round. You got Tom going into Lambeau and sticking it to Aaron Rodgers one more time?
Oh my gosh, dude. This is a tough one. I don't know how healthy Green Bay is. If you tell me Green Bay's healthy, they got Jair Alexander, um, they got Bakhtiari. I'm probably leaning towards Green Bay, but we don't know. We don't know if any of those guys are coming back, and so I gotta err on the side of caution. I think Tampa Bay. Again, it comes down to that one final play, and I just feel like Tampa's offense is so explosive. There's too many weapons on that side of the ball. It's a little unfair, really. It's a Madden offense, and I think they find a way to win again. Yep.
NFC chip, Arizona Cardinals, Tampa Bay on the road in Arizona. Got the young gun Kyler Murray versus arguably the GOAT, Tom Brady. Who you got?
Going
It's
with
it's it's,
Arizona.
it's what?
Going with
Okay.
Arizona.
Okay. I thought you were leaning to a Super Bowl rematch between Kansas City and Tampa Bay, but you got Arizona edging the Buccaneers. Talk about it. Give me more.
Well, Arizona wins. They don't have to rely on the run game. That's one. So you styles make matchups, right? Obviously, they're not going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be a little one dimensional, but they can pick up some yards on the ground with Kyler Murray. He's going to skirt free. And I just look at athletically in that secondary. Who the hell can even challenge Hopkins? I mean, if Hopkins went for 200 yards and 10 catches, I would not be shocked. Like, that's the type of game he can have. And then Kyler Murray can also buy time for any of those guys. I feel like Arizona's a really good football team. I think they're primed to really take a leap in these playoffs. I like what they have going on. I'm a big Kyler Murray guy. I just think Kyler Murray gets it done, and I think that eventually this run has to end for Tom Brady, and I think this is where it happens. I think Arizona gets it done at home. Close, nail biter, maybe 27-24 type game, but right now I would take Arizona.
Okay. I of the divisional matches, I have Aaron Rodgers beating Tom Brady. I think I understand. I see you question health. If Green Bay was healthy, then this is an easier call.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with everything that Aaron has been through this year, and with where he is with this team, with this organization, what he wants to prove to himself, what he wants to prove to the Green Bay Packers. Is he even going to be a Packer next year? I think he's putting everything into this season. He started slow, but he's also now finding his stride. If they get Aaron Jones back healthy, I understand this Tampa Bay team has a really, really good run defense. But if you give me Aaron Jones, who we know can catch the ball out of the backfield, so just the way you talked about Arizona, they don't have to win running the ball. I don't think the Packers have to win running the ball either. And if you can hit Aaron Jones out of the backfield and give him a few catches and let that be the way he get most of his touches, and then you try to wear them down as much as you can with an Aaron Jones who's not a small back, And then you bring in an AJ Dillon who is just a load to bring down. So if this defense is going to stop the run, it's not going to be a walk in the park with AJ Dillon splitting carries with Aaron Jones. That and then their secondary is depleted. So you talk about D Hop, but there are a lot of people in this league who also can't cover Devontae Adams. His route running is top three in this league. I would say Hop, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, not in any particular order, but those three guys as it pertains to the way they run routes. I love each and every one of those guys, the way they run routes. So you give me a guy like that with Aaron Rodgers and this off and those running backs and a defense who I think has played much, much better this season. Devondre Campbell has been an absolute godsend for this team from a linebacker perspective because that was their weakest position. The secondary is young, but they get after it. Rasul Douglas has signed him off of the street, and he's come in and like, I'm here, I'm ready to go.
I
He's
wanted
playing
the
at a high level
49ers
as
to sign
well.
him so bad. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
wanted the 49ers to
yeah,
sign him so bad.
yep. I know it all too well. So I love the Packers in this matchup, especially at home at Lambeau. And then we have Packers Cardinals. I think the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. We have Packers Cardinals. I love Kyler Murray as well. I love what they're doing on offense. I would pick the Cardinals if J.J. Watt was still there. I think I don't even think Chandler does Chandler Jones have another sack after the 5 sack game that
I
he
don't
had
believe
week
so.
one.
I don't believe
So
so.
he can be neutralized. And I think if anybody showed you how to neutralize a pass rush, it was Aaron Rodgers against our San Francisco 49ers. One of the things that he came into that game worried about is the way that team gets pressure on him. So what did he do? He didn't hold the ball longer than 2 seconds. He snapped the ball, it was out of his hands. He was 16 for 16 on passes where he threw the ball in less than 2 seconds. That was absolutely insane to me. So he has a formula for getting rid of the ball for teams that have a good pass rush. So I have Baltimore, Green Bay
I
based off of
listen,
this playoff
the Green
picture.
Bay is the one team. If you tell me they have Jair Alexander back for the playoffs, I'm picking Green Bay as well. I'm right there with you because Jair Alexander is that good of a corner on
Mm-hmm.
top of what they've already built with Stokes and I mean just everything. That secondary would be so good. You add Jair Alexander to it. So that's my one caveat. If Green Bay comes into it healthier than they are now and get one or two of those big names back, whether it's a Smith, a Bakhtiari, a Jair, then I'm definitely going with Green Bay also to make the Super Bowl. So I don't think you're far off. I think it's bold of you to pick them with the injuries. I'm not willing to go that far, but I like where your head's at because I really do think Green Bay is the X factor depending on health. Yep.
Now, guys, don't hold us to this. I'm gonna put this up here. Don't
No.
hold us to this. This is the playoff picture as constructed right now after week 12. We still have 6 more weeks. The number 1 seed through the number 7 seed. I guarantee you it's not going to look like this.
No.
So
No.
Jesse and I will revisit this playoff picture again after week 18, once the regular season is over and the playoff seeding is set. We'll do more of a deep dive because there won't be much to talk about but the playoffs and the upcoming games. So don't hold us to this. This is just a pre-exercise, 2/3 of the way into the season, and we will get into more in depth in what we really think once we see what the final playoff seeding is, where teams will be playing, who's 1 through 7, who's going on the road, who will be at home. It's definitely going to change. I think this was just a great exercise for tonight. Jesse, final thoughts, and I'll let you go, man. What are you looking for, whether it be from the 49ers, whether it be from other teams or the entire league? What are you looking for in this last 6 weeks of the NFL regular season?
I'm just looking for separation. We talked about it to start the show and how no team has really separated themselves. I felt like Arizona was probably the closest to doing so. I want to see separation from a team or two. Who can really establish themselves going into the playoffs where you say that's them. That's the team right there that should win the Super Bowl. I want to see who that's going to be or if it doesn't even maybe it doesn't happen. I'm just curious to see how it plays out. And then of course the 49ers gosh, if they can find a way to make the playoffs. It definitely just got a lot harder with the injuries to Debo and Warner. Hopefully those guys only miss a game and they can still find a way to beat Seattle without them. But if the 49ers can make the playoffs after that start, and then even though I think Tampa Bay beats them, if somehow that game can be in Tampa, I would absolutely love it. So those are the things that I'm looking forward to.
See, you got me thinking because I hear a lot of people, my nitty gritty Niners fan, shout out to Breezy, Peachy, Fair. A lot of other people are talking about going to the final game of the season against LA, and it's at SoFi Stadium. That'd be a great trip. Head out to LA. It's cold over here in the East Coast. I don't like the cold anyway, so I can go out west, see that final game. But if we somehow play Tampa, that's an easier trip for me. Instead of going West Coast, I can just go right down. You know, you got me thinking, Jesse. I might have to wait and see. So I might have to it's a shake of the dice because I could gamble, not go to LA, and then we somehow don't play Tampa and the game is not
For
in
sure.
Tampa. So then I miss 2 games. But I might hold off. And if that's the case, then we might have to do a in-person show for that game, do something like that. I'll come down to Tampa, link up with you, and we can cheer on our 49ers. For me, um, I'm looking to see that, like you said, separation is key, but I'm looking to see of this middle pack because there are a lot of teams that are sitting at 6-5, 49ers being one of them, or 5-6. Which one of these teams can turn it around? Which one of these teams can build off the momentum? Is it a team like the Chiefs, like the 49ers, uh, who can take this momentum from this second stanza of the season and going into this third leg, who can really continue to build on that momentum and end up 11-6, 12-5? Which one of these teams can really take that momentum and turn what looked like a dreary season around? And I don't know about you, but the addition of this 17th game, for me, it gave a lot of teams a little bit more hope because I don't think a team like Miami will win out and end up 10-7. I don't think that'll happen, right? But if they did, to start as poorly as they started and end up 10-7, I know it's only one extra game, but I feel like teams starting 0-4 or 1-3 or 1-5 isn't as detrimental as it used to be in the past. I think you can find pockets in your season where you can rattle off 3 or 4 in a row. The 49ers, we've just won 3 straight. And now we're a game out of the 5th spot because the Rams have lost 3 straight. So I think the way this season goes, as you mentioned, because the ebb and flows, it's so unpredictable. I think that's more true this season. Maybe next season that won't be true. Maybe from the
Right.
rip, we'll have the teams that start 4-0, 5-1, 6-1, and separate immediately, and those 0-4 teams don't have a shot. But I think, like you said, this is the year we're starting 1-3 or 0-4, 1-5. It does put you behind the 8 ball, but if you find pockets to rip off 3, 4, 5 games in a row, you can get yourself right back in the mix. So it's good for competition. It's good to see what these teams are made of, and that's the most exciting part about football is seeing these guys put their heart and soul on the line every single week going after that trophy. So I'm excited to see what happens, man.
I think you're right about it too, because you're right. It is only one game, but it sure does seem like three or four, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
10-7 sounds a hell of a lot better than 9-7. It's just there's something to it. Getting to those double digit wins, even if it means you have one more loss than what you had seasons prior, it really is a big deal. It makes a big difference. So I'm with you on that one. That 17th game is, I wasn't for it in the beginning. I really wasn't. Now I'm kind of digging it. I really am. And that's another thing. Like, I look at the 49ers. Let's say they can solidify themselves in the playoffs. I don't know about you, but I'm using, if I'm in the playoffs, I don't care what the matchups are. I'm trying to get my team right. I'm resting my players that week 17 game. If it means I'm the 7th seed instead of the 5th, I don't care, because I'm playing next week no matter what. I'm doing things like resting my players, using that as my bye week to get right for the playoffs. So I think that you might see some of that going on as well because you're now solidified. You're in the playoffs. Maybe that in the past it was the teams that had a bye that, they're the ones that are looking to rest players. I think you might have some of these wild card teams resting players, knowing that they're in no matter what, not caring where they end up falling, seed wise, and saying, screw it. Let's just take a loss and rest our guys and be ready for next week. I think that's going to add a dynamic as well.
I agree with you 1,000%. And I only way I see that not happening is the fifth seed. If the fifth seed is, a game from the four, right? So if they win week 18 and that win puts them in the four seed instead of the five, then that makes sense. But
For
if you're
sure.
five, if you're 5, 6, or 7, and you winning that last game doesn't do anything to change that, you're going to be on the road no matter what. Why risk it? Why play your starters and then you get a freak injury to your starting quarterback or your starting running back or your top wide receiver? If I'm Cincinnati and I know no matter what I'm going to end up 5, 6, or 7, so it doesn't matter where I'm at. Maybe if I like a matchup better, but it doesn't matter. It's the playoffs. I'm going to get everybody's best shot. 5, 6, or 7. It doesn't matter if I win last week. I'm not playing the game and risking Jamar Chase tearing his ACL because he's trying to run around. He's trying to play hard, do what he normally does, and a freak accident happens. He tears his ACL. That's a late season ACL tear. So we don't even know when he would be ready for the next season, and that's looking ahead. You know he's not going to be available for the playoffs, and then you get him hurt further in the future. Obviously, if he gets hurt in the playoffs, it's unfortunate, but you save him and you rest him for when it matters. So I completely agree with you. That 5, 6, and 7, and even though that 2, 3, and 4, if two can get to one and get that bye and the home field advantage, maybe you start your starters.
For
But if
sure.
you can't get to one, no matter what happens, two, rest your guys. Be
Yep.
ready for when the games start next week in that wild card round because you got to be able to have all your guns locked and loaded, ready to go because every team is going to give you your best. Jesse, man, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate your love for the game. You make conversing about football so easy. Um, Always a pleasure to have you on, man. Uh, we'll be back at it again in another 6 weeks.
Mo, thank you so much for having me on. I love it, man. Every single time that we've done the show twice, but you're right. Like going back and forth, very easy to talk to. I feel like I'm talking to a long time friend. Very easy to talk football with you. I appreciate it. And I'm looking really forward to seeing how this whole thing progresses throughout the season. I think this is a cool thing that we're doing here. It's almost like a time capsule, right? Did you ever have that in middle school, like sixth grade? You bear the time capsule, then you dig it up in eighth grade to see how much you change. That's what I feel like this is for our season. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. We'll be back in another 6 weeks. For everybody who tuned in, for everyone who will be tuning in, if you don't catch it live, thank you so much. I appreciate you for stopping by Mo's Knows. You can tap in with me at Mo's Knows, what.mos.knows on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of those social media. You can follow my YouTube. Give me a subscription. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a like. You can follow Jesse at Last Second Sports on YouTube. Go over, give him a subscription, give him a thumbs up. Make sure the algorithms are algorithmic. As Joe Budden would say, the algorithm's got an algorithm. So give him a subscription, give him a like. You can follow him on Twitter at JNay_LSS. Follow Jesse. He's got great content. There was something that before I let you go, because I commented on it and I said we had to talk about it. I know we over time. I didn't want to keep you this long,
No, it's all good, man.
but I love the comparison, Jesse, and I just want you to kind of just dive into it just a little bit more. Let me find it real quick. He says, and I quote, where is it? Come on, phone. Come on, phone.
It's probably a few down. I tweet way too much.
And of course, my phone wants to freeze now. Uh, Basically, what you were saying is, hey, I just went out and bought a brand new $75,000 car. I mean, this thing is sweet, pristine, fresh off the lot. The paint is fresh. The wheels are glistening. Brand new 75K off the lot. This baby is fly. But guess what? I'm not going to drive it. I'm going to take it home. I'm going to park it in the garage. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm going to drive this old car. Okay. I'm going to drive this car that I know can't do what the new car can do. I'm going to drive this hoping that the new car can learn some things just by sitting in the driveway. I'm paraphrasing because I can't find the ticket. I don't want to keep you that long. But just kind of go into that thought process as it pertains to the San Francisco 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Just touch on that really quick.
Yeah, so for me, this is a follow up to a to a tweet. So God, who was it? Was it Brad from RSF 49ers? Really good content over there on his channel as well. But I think he said something along the lines of he was comparing two players. Oh, that's what it was. He said, "I'll take Lenore over Norman. Lenore getting beat." And having bad coverage over Norman having bad coverage any day. And so then I retweeted it and said, well, I'll take high wobbly passes from Trey Lance over Jimmy Garoppolo any day. And that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
where it started. And, a lot of people have this thought process that, well, the 49ers are rolling. There's no way you make the change now. And I tend to agree with that. But I just think this whole season's absolutely ridiculous. How stupid does it sound when I put it in those terms and say, hey, I just bought a brand new car? You could say it's more than 75 grand because you spent 3 first round picks. I get that. Whatever that money is for you, that's a lot. And you've got a $10,000 car sitting in the driveway from 2008 that doesn't have Bluetooth, doesn't have heated and cooled seats, doesn't have any of the cool stuff. And you're saying, I'm going to continue to drive this car, even though I invested all this money into this car, because I'm not sure that this other car is ready to drive on the highway. So I'm going to keep it in the driveway till it's ready. I might even take it around the neighborhood a few times just to kind of warm it up. That sounds so stupid. Like, what? Under no circumstances would you do that. That's what the 49ers are doing. They spent all this money on a brand new car that is better than the car that you have. Sure, you don't know how to work everything yet. So maybe you're missing out on a few of the gadgets that you purchased in this car, right? Maybe you don't know how to hook up your phone to Bluetooth. So you're looking at it going, well, I haven't figured that out yet. This old car doesn't have Bluetooth. Kind of a wash there. But then you get in, it's got that nice cushy leather. You got the heated seats when it's cold outside. Come on, man. What are we doing right now? This sounds so stupid. You would never do that. So why the 49ers chose to do that, beyond me. But here we are. You're muted. Your Bluetooth headset died, didn't it? And you had to plug in those stupid. You had to go back to the old car. Mose has nice Bluetooth headsets that he can't use, and he's going back to the wired headset. That's perfect analogy. I like what you did there, Mose. You're on top of it. I absolutely love it. Nothing still. I got nothing. Those are those Beats joints too, I can tell. Nope, nothing. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say, and I'll wrap it. I get it. Like, there's nothing. Maybe we can link up backstage or whatever. But here's what I'll say. We just talked about the 49ers. Really, that's who I was equating that week 17 to. I'm looking at it saying the 49ers are a team that could use a bye week. Trey Lance gets to come in and play. You get a glimpse of the future. I think that's super important for this fan base. Maybe he does enough to earn a couple snaps in a playoff game, especially if you're playing a team like the Bucs where running is going to be hard. So maybe you put in Trey Lance to help open those things up and you trust him now that you've seen him play a whole week 17 game and look pretty decent. So maybe that's a possibility for the team like the 49ers. I do agree. Right now, it's probably too late to make a change. That being said, I still think that if the 49ers had started Trey Lance week one, they would be no worse than they are now. And I would be a lot more optimistic about a 49ers team led by a Trey Lance that has 17 games under his belt going into the playoffs than Jimmy Garoppolo, who we know is the same guy. I get all the numbers say that this man is doing so much more than what he's ever done. He's the same player. Nothing has changed except for the team around him and the way they're performing. He is still the same guy. So for me, I would be much happier with that scenario, but it's not the scenario that's in front of us. That was kind of where I was at with that week 17 resting. Mose, I don't know if you're there. Nope, nothing. So we'll wrap with that. Make sure you tap in, you subscribe to Moe's, you give him a like. Make sure the algorithms are algorithming. I think I said that right. Tap in with Last Second Sports. We appreciate you, and we'll be back in 6 weeks to give you the third and final piece of this puzzle. Peace.